Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. On the set, Errol Spence calls for the fade against Terence Crawford. Oh, shit. But that's the real, man. Errol Spence is ready to get back in the ring. But he didn't quite get his way. Now, Errol Spence, if you didn't know, there was some back and forth between his team and Crawford's team on when the fight was going to take place, the rematch. Errol Spence wanted more time. Looks like he wanted a year to really get things together. And understandably so, when you look at exactly what Errol Spence went through in that first Crawford fight. But the bottom line is he's ready to get back in that ring and show Crawford and show the world that that wasn't his best performance and that wasn't Errol Spence. The one thing that we don't know, because he won't disclose it, although Derek James is saying he knows what went wrong, but Derek James won't divulge that information either. We have no idea what Errol Spence feels went wrong in his preparations or went wrong in that ring or the week leading up to the fight. Just the bottom line is we don't know the reason or what Errol Spence feels the reason is for him losing. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I would love to know the cause of him losing that fight as far as how he sees it. Because for me, I think the reason why he lost that fight is because Terence Crawford was just a better fighter. Now, of course, there's a lot of people, we've talked about this before, I'm not going to sit here, man, try to breathe life back into stuff we've talked about 200 times already. But there are other people who feel there are different things that were affecting Errol Spence. They're looking at his appearance and everything, and they're like, that wasn't him. And what I will say is, well, we're going to get an opportunity to see the real Errol Spence as he calls for the fade with Terence Crawford in the rematch that looks like it could be taking place around April. But the one thing we don't know, because they're just keeping this hush-hush, which I don't know why they just don't come out and say. We know that the Crawford has said that the rematch in the contract, it says 147, right? But this is where it gets a little tricky now. Errol Spence made that fight happen. If it wasn't for Errol Spence, there would have never been Terence Crawford, two-time undisputed, right? At least at 147. That's not my opinion. That's not just a conversation. That's a fact that came out of Crawford's mouth. But when I look at this, I think Terence Crawford has had to have a come to Jesus meeting with himself. So now you've got this guy who's on the set on a call for the fade, which in the rematch, which you're obligated to give him, and you want to fight. But you also like your undisputed status, even though the IBF took one of your straps. Okay? What do you do if you're Terence Crawford? Because that weight at 147 sounds like it's a little difficult for Terence Crawford to make as well, but maybe a little easier for him than Errol Spence. But what do you do? You know the rematch is contracted at 147. But this guy, you know getting to 147 kills him. It's no secret. You know that a lot of the fans are saying, yeah, Crawford, you did your thing. However, Errol Spence was exhausted, weight drained. He never had a chance because he wasn't healthy going into the fight because of the way, how much weight he had to cause and the way he cut weight. Which I'm still waiting for people to tell me the way he cut weight because no one seems to know, right? So if you're Terence Crawford, he's got to, hey, you know what? Give that man the fight at 154. Same way when everyone told Errol Spence, don't fight that boy. Don't fight Terence Crawford. Leave that little Nebraskan alone. Don't fight him. That's what everyone told him. He was like, no. Now, of course, Errol Spence was looking at the money too because if you fight Keith Thurman, you lose to Keith Thurman, but you make a third of what you make fighting Crawford. So he fights Crawford. Makes $1 gazillion. Now, Crawford, in my opinion, when you look at it like that, I think I know he loves his belts. I think he should give them belts up and just fight, risk giving up the 3 belts that he still has and just go fight Errol Spence at 154. But that's the thing that in my opinion, if Errol Spence is agitated about anything, is one, right off the back, he doesn't get an opportunity to fight for undisputed again. Right? He had the opportunity, he lost. In the rematch, you would think, okay, this is my chance to become undisputed and get a victory over Crawford. That's gone. IBF ruined that. So it's like, okay, I'll go out there and fight him. Now, if I beat him, I can become undisputed. But at 147, Spence doesn't want to do it. So now I'm sure he's like, all right, there's no way in the world that this can happen. At least give me the fight at 154 then. I already can't become undisputed. I already can't become unified again. You know, because I can't do 147. So let's just go at 154. Let's just keep it at 154. You know, don't try to force me back down because I can't get to 147. I can't become undisputed. So the bottom line is there's nothing I can possibly gain. He can't become undisputed. He can't fight at 147. He can't become unified because the sanctioning bodies aren't going to let Crawford put those belts on the line at 154. So at least just give Errol Spence the fight at 154, just so he's in his best he's in the best condition, has the best chance of putting on a performance to give Crawford a good fight. And that's how I see it, man. And I just think Crawford has to sit there and make a decision, which is tough. But who knows? Maybe the sanctioning bodies say, hey, because you're fighting Errol Spence, the fight's at 154, no problem. But after you have that fight at 154, you come back to 147. You still have the 3 belts, and you got to start facing mandatories. But this is why I said I don't think Crawford's going to care necessarily about those belts. I think he has to make a decision, and I think he should just drop all the belts and just go fight Spence at 154. But he's going to have to make a decision because Crawford's not trying to sit here and have sanctioning bodies tell him what to do. Period. Crawford wants to fight the biggest fights possible, so I think Crawford is more than prepared to let those belts go. Matter of fact, I think right before, I think somewhere after they announced the Spence fight and midway between the scheduled fight date, I think Crawford drops those other belts. I really do. And, you know, it's kind of unfortunate for Errol Spence because at 154, I'm going to tell you what, there are some people who feel Errol Spence has a good chance to become undisputed at 154. I don't know. We got to see how he looks. But I tell you what, man, I think Errol Spence should just retire. But it is what it is. He's calling for the fade. He's looking to do a lot of damage at 154, maybe 160. He feels that he has the skills. He has the power. He has everything it takes to become undisputed at 154, 160. But I'm going to tell you what, he may have a better chance at 160 than maybe at 154 because 160 is a problem, Division II, man. You got some killers up there. But I like Virgil Ortiz. I'm just being honest with you. Does he beat Errol Spence? I don't know. But I just don't think Errol Spence walks through that guy. And he's now at 154. So that being said, we'll see. But Errol Spence, man, you know, he wants to get his revenge on Terence Crawford. But we just got to wait and see, you know, what happens. But I'm telling y'all right now, that fight, they've already firmed up the month. They're just not disclosing that. But you know how things get slow leaked to us. We just got to wait and see what Crawford decides to do and the teams decide to do and everything as far as the weight. But I know Crawford is out here planning, making sure whatever decision he makes that he's still able to move up the ladder and go into big fights. Crawford's not stupid. He's looking at everything. What's the best decision for me? I know I got to fight Spence. He's calling for the fade, right? But what's the best decision for me? Crawford's not going to sit there and be foolish. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. In the breeze.